And we got Sean King coming on around noon. We're going to dive into the defense. We'll dive into the running game. We'll dive into Jerry Jeudy's revenge game against Denver, which, Bull, you said last week doesn't exist for receivers, and Jerry Jeudy may have proved you wrong. But we're going to start with Jameis and dive into the ups and downs of Jameis's performance after a quick reminder that FanDuel is the undisputed number one sportsbook in America. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, guys, Jameis, you mentioned it in the shotgun intros, the ups, the downs, the 4 touchdowns, the 3 interceptions. Bull, I think you nailed it. It's a very hard game to evaluate considering the peaks and the valleys. But what are you going to remember most from this performance by Jameis, and do the late interceptions erase all the positives that he'd accumulated over the first 55 minutes of the game?
No, I don't think it erases all the good things he did in this game, but it erases enough. And the thing we're going to remember at the end is those last 2 interceptions.
For sure.
I mean, how can you not? And that, I think Dustin made a great point. There's been this thought, and I know Jay has felt this way, that the arrow's just going to continue to point up for other teams being interested in Jameis. But you're right. This was just another example of what Jameis is. Jameis can win some games for you, but he can lose some games for you. Nothing's going to deter him. He plays. We talked earlier in the year about how, we've talked about this for 3 years to some degree, that Deshaun Watson plays scared, right? He's afraid to throw. He doesn't have a lot of picks because he's afraid to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston plays with zero fear. None whatsoever.
So did Joe Flacco.
Yeah, but I mean, but Winston is like better than Flacco. So like,
oh yes,
like,
and younger.
Yeah, and honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, like when the Browns got the football down 6,
Yeah.
literally anything can happen. The Browns could go win that game.
Absolutely.
It would not surprise me or anybody.
No. Yep.
They also can lose by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, right.
Which happened.
That's right. That's right. And you're going to have games where he comes through against Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Yeah.
But even in those games, like he threw a big pick against Pittsburgh. He should have thrown a big pick against Baltimore, got dropped.
Look at the end of the first half.
3.
That could have happened at the end of the game. They go right down the field and scored right before halftime.
Yeah.
They could have easily done that and won the game.
Yes.
But, you got the full Jameis Winston experience.
Yeah. And that throw, he made so many good throws on the night. So many tight window throws.
How many of those
throw to Elijah Moore was terrible.
Why were there were like 3 of throws like that he didn't get intercepted, where he threw like to the far sideline and didn't feel like it floated forever.
And then the defensive back kind of looked and was like, should I?
It was like slow motion.
And he's like, no, I can't jump that. Is this a good ball?
Well, first
I
of
think
all,
this is a good ball.
I might be able to intercept this.
Wait a minute. Hold on, because some of them passes, I mean, they did a good job of getting to him, and he was just getting the ball out of his hands.
Man, I'm not being overly critical of the guy, but he got away with a few, is my point.
I agree that if you're going to throw it like that, you better throw it out of bounds or throw it to the dirt or something like that. Don't put it in harm's way. But Denver's defensive line was pretty good last night.
That
Shout
guy,
out to my boy Jay Coop, boy.
Go Bucks. What's the name of the guy who had the first interception, the D lineman?
Oh,
Benito.
15? That guy's a freak.
Nick Benito.
The guy from Denver, Zach, was it?
Zach Stevens.
Until 3 days ago, I'd never heard of this play.
I'd never heard of him either.
I'd never heard of him. That was that interception.
Well, they basically said that the guy's done nothing until like this year.
Yeah. That guy looked like a quarterback on that play.
He looked like a strong safety or something.
Right?
Like,
I mean, that was a great play.
When I watched the replay, I was like, that was one of the most athletic interceptions I've seen.
Is this guy a D lineman?
And then ran away from everybody.
Oh,
I was like,
he did.
How much does he weigh? He looks like he's like 240.
Wait a minute. Is this
245.
Is this the dude
from Oklahoma?
Yeah, from
Oklahoma.
He was a beast from Oklahoma.
Man,
he was an All-American in college.
Yeah.
He's not a nobody. He was a second-round pick.
Hey, but that happens a lot with
I
guys.
think he was like, isn't he like undersized and that's why he dropped?
Yeah, he's 6'3", 240. So he's
like
in between tweener size.
So like that's like, so if you guys know, man, that's when I look in the mirror, that's what I want to be. when I look in the mirror, I'm like, man, look at that, man. Look at this, man. 230, 240. Look, he got a number 15. But it don't look nothing like that, man. But I said this to McNuggets. It was a little too late me to get this on the show. Now, I dug into some stats a little bit. This was on a site that I found. I don't know how important Reddit is, But this guy does a deep dive, and he says he goes back a couple of years. He talks about Tom Brady throwing the ball 62 times in a game. He said he wanted to find out what was the success rates of teams when throwing the ball 50 times or more. So he did this dive, and he looked at a minimum of 6 games for people throwing these type of passes. And he did regular season and playoffs. And the total win-loss record, there's a total of 330 games where quarterbacks have thrown over 50 times. And their record is 80, 251, and 2.
Yeah, but that's not surprising because most of the time when you throw the ball that much, it's because you keep getting
down.
crushed.
I mean, it's a 24% win chance, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you're throwing the ball because you can't run the ball, or if you're throwing the ball a lot because you're down, or if you're throwing the ball because that's just what you like to do, I put it all in the gambit. You throw the ball over 40, 50, 60 times, you going to have 2-3 picks. I don't know who throws the ball 60 times with no interceptions. And when you the Cleveland Browns and you playing like that in that style of football, you begging for high risk reward. He threw the ball 54 times. If you only throw 2 picks in that scenario, you still 90% of the time didn't throw interceptions. So I think, yes, he throws picks. Joe Flacco throws picks. But if you consistently want to make your team a passing team, and this is what they're going to do, you open yourself up for a lot of different things to happen. There's all kind of bad things that can happen when you throw the ball. Tip passes, interceptions, sacks, turnovers, fumbles. When you run the ball, there's only a few bad things that can happen. So, the Browns, but I'll say this.
Over here.
Yeah.
I think he's on to something because I think that we say that Jameis is Jameis, and I agree with that statement, but I do want to know what Jameis would be like if he did have a good run game. Maybe if you didn't have him throw the ball that many times a game, maybe that'll eliminate the interceptions.
Guardrails,
like if we just think if the Browns' run game was what it was, 2 years ago, like that would take the ball out of Jameis's hands, and now on certain situations, instead of 3rd and long, we talking about 3rd and short, and you can make those easy dink and dunks. And
I wanted to throw this to you because think about it. We now see the difference between the playbook of what Dorsey likes to run and what Kevin Stefanski likes to run. I would like to think, and I'll ask you guys, when you look at what Kevin Stefanski does, it looks like from an offensive standpoint that he has some sort of guardrails. Like he does some things with the running game, does some things where he just not gonna have you throwing the ball 54 times, right? He will turn around and hand the ball off and run play action.
Who you talking about, Kevin?
Like that. I don't think Kevin Stefanski would have run this type of game plan where you running deep vertical routes 54 times.
I disagree.
With the run game?
G and J have been complaining about Chubb not getting enough carries for years.
Wait a minute. Are you saying Kevin don't run vertical routes?
No. What I'm saying is I believe that Ken Dorsey is more pass happy than Kevin Stefanski. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I will say what's unusual about this game. Now, you gave the stats of all these games that have this.
It's hard to say that, though. Joe Flacco threw a lot, too.
A high percentage of those games where a quarterback threw over 50 times are where teams were getting blown out and they had no choice but to throw. They were never getting blown out in this game. They were never down more than 10 points or 11 points.
They had no run game.
No, I'm saying, but it's still unusual to throw the ball that many times in a game that was close the whole time. I mean, very unusual.
They got no run game.
I hear you, but usually teams at least try it a little more.
Think about it. Okay, I'll go back to the 90s, Bull. There were teams that threw the ball pretty much every play in the 90s. Buffalo Bills, run and shoot. Detroit Lions, run and shoot. Atlanta Falcons, run and shoot. Houston Oilers, run and shoot. There's teams that just basically dropped back and said, we're going to throw the ball with 4 receivers every play. That doesn't usually happen like that now, but teams have been throwing the ball a lot, a bunch. Sure. So, I mean, for me, I wonder, and we'll never know unless, Kevin Stefanski decides to take back over play calling. I would want to know what would Kevin Stefanski's answer be to try to eliminate some of these turnovers. Or is that just part of the game?
If you going,
he's just gonna fit it in there.
No, if you're going, I told you, you got it. We learned a long time ago that this team could not run the football.
Yes,
we knew that. So this is what you get when you can't run the football. That's why I said the offseason is going to be important because you got to find a way to be like this. Can't be what it is. Like First of all, that's not even the Cleveland Browns' identity. Is this throwing the ball all the time? So you got to find a way to get that run game going. It's like I said, there's so many. I tell you what, the one thing that I did see, did you see the Nick Chubb screen? I about fell out my seat.
The screen game is back.
I about fell out my seat. I was like, oh my goodness.
I said I seen this 20. Listen, the Browns screen game in 2020. That Baker screen game was elite.
Fire.
It was triple reverse pivot throwback screens. It was double pass reverse shotgun flea flicker screens.
That was Baker's strength.
The fakes.
He was very good at the fake handoff.
I was like, man,
it was McGahee like Hurricanes good, and that's where it came from.
Them screens, I said, what?
Yeah.
We ran a screen last night. I was like, what?
Man, I was excited for that screen.
It was well executed. Too.
Yes.
Yeah. Ken Dorsey, when he played, dude, was the king of the screens. He set that junk up like he was the
set
best.
Set that joker up, boy. I tell you, you know what? At least, even when the way we talking about it, bro.
Yeah.
We talk about screen passes.
It's fun.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun. I don't even remember if they lost or not. I'm just like, did you see that one play in the third quarter? That was cool. We got yards.
Yeah.
What do you take away most from Jameis's performance, though? Was it the near 500 passing yards, the 4 touchdowns, or is it the 2 back-breaking interceptions late?
Yeah, I mean, the back-breaking interceptions are way more jump off the page because he had them in a position to win the game.
Right.
Like if the game was meaningless, we wouldn't even be talking about those. So it sort of goes hand in hand with Jameis Winston, and if Jameis won more, if he won more games, we'd be looking at him like, well, you kind of have to. That's what you get, It's Brett Favre. They're going to win games, but that's not the deal with Jameis Winston. He doesn't win.
Here,
That is a very big point. If Jameis Winston was able to pull out these close games, we look at him totally different because we would say
if he won 65% of these deals, then you'd be like, okay, well that's just one we give him, and the next one we'll get.
Facts. Like you'd be like, hey, well listen, he a gunslinger. That's what we're gonna live and die with how he moving. We're gonna win more than we lose.
Right.
And if he pulled those games out, because think about it, if the defense stops him, I think that we were what 2 points.
We had multiple opportunities there. Oh, we had the lead?
We had the lead when he
31-30?
Yeah. We had the lead, come down, score. I'm like, man, this is about actually that comment that I had was actually when that we opened with.
The 2-minute warning had just happened. The Browns were driving. They had just converted that 3rd and 14 to Elijah Moore.
But we was feeling good.
It was the very first play out of us opening the show.
Wow.
The Browns are on the 40-yard line.
Right.
And then obviously the pick 6 happened.
It was devastating. I was like, you can see it in my face.
Didn't they convert a 3rd and 15 prior to that? Or something?
Yeah.
That was the Elijah
After
Moore.
That was nasty.
I thought it was interesting because they took the penalty. Like Kevin Stefanski could have called timeout.
It was the right call though. And they made the point in the broadcast.
Yeah.
The 3rd and 10 is about the same as 3rd and 15.
Right.
They got chances, so the timeout's more valuable.
That. Yeah, I like that.
If Jameis won more games, he would be a non-mobile Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he would be.
Or Big Ben.
Yeah.
No, but see, here's the difference. First of all, Jay did the same thing yesterday with his comparison to Josh Allen. Josh Allen, since his rookie season, 5 out of 6 years, his touchdown to turnover ratio is over 2-1. Okay, and that's just with passing touchdowns. That doesn't include all the running he does. So, yes. Last year was the only year since his rookie year where Josh Allen's turnovers were really bad. The other years they were high, but considering how much he's asked to do for that team, they weren't that high.
See, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
If Josh Allen wins, so you'll say the turnovers were high, but look what he's asked to do.
Yeah, but they're not that high. I mean, last year, Bull's right. Last year, I watched him every year.
Last year was an anomaly.
Last year was an anomaly. This year,
he was particular.
And sometimes those turnovers that he creates are in bad situations, and they're just magnified. But this year they're not even. I mean, there's been some bad ones, but dude, they're a 9-win team.
10-win
team.
That's the thing. I think a lot of it is just depending on what your team is, what the outcome of these games are, and your temperature for it. It's kind of hard for fans to sit up here and kill Josh Allen when he puts up those type of numbers. The team is always good. They're in contention for the playoffs, in contention for the Super Bowl. And he's great. He's spectacular. So, you're going to deal with some interceptions. I'll take that. Like Allen Iverson. He's going to have a couple bad shots, a lot of bad shots. As a matter of fact, he's the only one shooting.
We've been on the air for 30 minutes, and we've blamed Winston. We blamed all these guys, and we haven't blamed the culprit who cost us the game, and that's Dustin Hopkins. Again.
We're gonna get to
him in a second.
No, I know. I'm just thinking about we're just sitting here just railing on Winston, and it's like the kid shouldn't be on the team.
Wow. Hey,
am I wrong?
Never draft a kicker, never pay a kicker. That's the rule.
Hey, see, Jason Lloyd, this is the way you take a stand.
Especially not one's named Dustin.
This is the way you talk your talk after a Browns loss. You see, calling names and taking names.
That's right.